Hello and welcome! Did you know that there are 5 super easy ways to make miniature books? At some point, I want to make a library. For that, we're going to need a figurative or even a literal butt-ton of books. They need to be easy and budget-friendly, definitely. Let's check out each of these 5 ways and see how many I can make by the end of this video. Our first one actually has pages. I went ahead and made a template. And it even bends so that I can know exactly where each page will be. And we're going to cut off a few of these pages. Any paper will work. Trim up the edge. Then we use this as our guide. And it's perfectly on that one line. Then I can cut right here. Now these, I'll figure out something with them later. Gonna need a lot more, but I have a lot more pages. I'm gonna keep going with this and it'll be just as snap for you. We have a bunch of paper now. For this first section, align it and bend it in half. And where it's bent, that's where I'm going to staple it. And now you could do this, make the spine a little thinner, and there's your first book. But I want mine a little bit thicker, at least for this one. So we're going to take probably the rest of these and pretty much do the same thing. This is going to be slightly different. I'm going to do this one slightly off of where the fold is. That way it can be used for part of the spine. This is going to be the edge of the spine here and the edge of the spine here. Be careful of those staples. So now when I add it in here, it's the width of that, and this can go right here. To put these together, I'm going to add just a little bit of tacky glue. This is going to go right here next to the staple. And that's the first one. We're going to clean it up and add details later. And I'll clip it so it stays together. Now to dry. Book 2 is very easy. It's made from a magazine or ads. This one is perfect. It has these circles that would make perfect fronts of books. Sometimes you'll have little words on the side, and that lines up perfectly with that one. These are not going to be the standard size, so we're going to cut right around the circle. I'm going to use this to help. That way I can hold it here and keep it perfectly aligned. We're going to cut this with this X-Acto knife. I think this type would be perfect as a cookbook. And it's going to take a while, especially when there's multiple layers. I think I may switch to my trusty old faithful. See how this works. Let me keep working on this and then I'll show you how it is toward the end. I have managed to cut through the top and bottom. Now, let's see if I can cut through the side of the book. I'm going to do the same exact thing, holding it flush with the top, trying to keep it level, and then just cutting from line to line. This should be actually easier than going through the binding because there was a little bit of glue or staples or something there. This will be just paper. I would recommend safety glasses and probably a metal glove just so you don't cut your fingers off. And we're almost there. All right, we are so close. Let me just take the scissors for this last bit. And there we are, a ready-made book. Of course, the words and everything on the inside are not great, but the outside's perfect. Almost. I just need to touch up the edges and it's ready for the shelf. I'm going to do the S for a book and then these 3 as well. But I may cut this so that it's the right size and then add a cover later and do the same thing for the bottom. But once we have all this cut off, we still have all this. Now we could just take pictures, cut them out, use our template, do that so that we have actual pages. This page right here has columns that are perfect. We could cut these out. We would actually have a readable book, with the exception that it's going to take the inner part here. But we could at least make it a fashion beauty book about highlights. Most of these have columns that are the perfect size, so we can actually use those for our book. Also, a lot of these have inserts, such as this. And on this side, you'll have an actual cover that you could just glue on. Now I ruined that one, but I still have these 2. And if I don't like this side, I could use this side. One magazine, endless possibilities. This third book is probably the simplest to make, and it uses an item you just toss in the trash. I think we can use this right here. If you use legal pads, this one is perfect for you. All we need to do is cut it to the height we need. Now we have some cardboard as well. We'll be trimming these up as well at the end. I'm going to need my cutting mat for this one. It's the perfect width for what I'm wanting, and I should be able to get about 4 or 5. I'm going to mark the first one so I know about the height that I want it. And there we are. Taking my trusty X-Acto knife, and we're going to slice. The only problem is I think I just hit a staple. Yes, I did. It's right below that. All right, we're going to adjust accordingly. Go down and try this again. I'm going to get my box cutter. See how well it will work. Just got to see where my cut was. And you just keep slicing. This may be the simplest, but it's not the easiest. Doing it this way is easier. Almost there. I think I may have still hit the staple. I was able to get it cut off. This end is a little rough, and we just have to shape it up, and then we can add a cover on at the end. That makes book style number 3. Our 4th style of book. Simple cardboard. Everyone has cardboard around somewhere, especially us crafters, and I have an idea. Let's use the template. It's not as thick as I want it, so let's cut it into the piece we need. So for the cardboard, if you want it thicker, you're going to have to glue these together. I'm using my tacky glue. Just love this stuff. It's so easy. It doesn't matter how it looks because everything is going to get covered up. Now let's see about that thickness. Still not thick enough. Let's try a third. Let's test it. Yes, it is either perfect or just slightly big. That'll work. I'm going to trim up the edges. Looks pretty good now. My plan is to test and see if this will help. I'm going to put it in the grooves on all 4 sides. Had some of this laying around. If you have anything that is similar to fill cracks and crevices, I'm going to fill this in all the holes. Meet you back here for the next step. I have finished the 4 sides. They're not perfect. I don't know how this is going to turn out, to be honest, but it has promise. So now let that dry. While that dries, let's check out our last type of book. Keep watching because we're going to add realistic touches to give them each unique looks with no or minimal added cost. And now we have our final easy, super easy book. You'll need glue, foam board, and thread. I'm going to cut a piece. It's a little thinner than my template, but that's okay. This side is very smooth, and these are the cut edges. Now that we have our book piece, I'm going to take this ball tool and we're going to make an indentation between the 2 pieces of outer foam board. It'll also clear up some of that bulk that's down in there. And then I can take my little sharp scissors, clean up these edges, make them look nicer. That's better. This side doesn't matter because I'm having that being the back, the spine of the book. With this one, you definitely want to know before you do anything which is going to be the spine and which is going to be the outside that you'll see. So this one, the flat part here, is where I'm going to have my spine. For this one, you need thread. If you want the pages to look newer, white thread. If you want them to look older, white with a yellowish tint would look really good. This one's going to be a new book, so I'm going to use this one. It's a great way to use up old thread, especially if it breaks and you just can't use it for anything else. These can be found in the sewing kits from the Dollar Tree. Just in case you want to try this and not commit to a whole roll of it, what we're going to do is back to our trusty tacky glue. We're going to put just a bit along the spine, along this indent, this one, and the bottom. Let's use one of these pages to put the excess glue on for right now. We can use that later. Just go ahead, let it roll. And you're going to start it on the spine. And then you just keep rolling, keeping it tight, not cutting into it, but tight against the foam board. And you just keep going. Once you get in the groove, it becomes second nature. And if you get to the point where you've covered all of the glue that's on there, you just take a dab and add it where you're at, or if it seems to be drying up. But if you can see, it looks like there's pages there now. Let me keep going, and then I can check back in with you in just a second, your time, to show you how it's going. All right, I'm almost to where I want to stop. Getting full, and it doesn't want to stay. That's one of your indicators. We started on the spine, and we need to stop on the spine. So we'll cut it off right there, take our glue, and seal the whole thing down. Now that we have this one sealed, we let it dry, and then we can add our cover and details. Here we have our 5 different types of books. Just by looking, this one, of course, looks the best to me. I can just set it right up on the shelf, even though you can't really read anything inside of it. My experiment did not go as well as I had hoped. Needless to say, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap that in thread so it'll look a whole lot better. Let's see how many of the basic books we made. We have 60 foam board books, and then we have 21 of the cardboard books. And we ended up with 22 of the legal pad books. And we had 20 books from magazines. I didn't make any more of the stapled ones just because I was so focused on all the rest of these. I figured everybody could make these and probably pretty fast. So when you add all these up, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. We had 123 books. And no, that was not planned, but that's not counting the original 5, which makes 128. Now let's do some detailing. Some of the books, like these from the magazine, don't need any work on them whatsoever. Other ones, like the cardboard and the foam board, are definitely going to need covers and something to fill in the holes. Let's see what we can come up with. Out of the same magazine that I cut these out of, I cut out this really cute cover. So it could be like a geology book, a book about deserts. Who knows? It's a nice cardstock, so figured why not. And where this is going to be a thinner book, I went ahead and put thread around it to make it look like it has pages, just to see what it would end up like. It's alright, but I don't know how it'll look at the end. Let's glue it on. This is the only one I'm doing like this. Hopefully it turns out pretty good. Alright, making sure that's the right one, and it is. Put it in the spine first, make sure it's level, and then press it firm. Didn't look too bad. And put these on top of it. See if that'll help. I didn't like the way this one turned out, so we are going to pick our spine, put the thread in there, and then start winding it. You just need to make sure it stays flat. I'm not going to bore you with going all the way around this. But you can see how I'm doing it. As I got toward the end, I went ahead and directed the thread toward a specific area because one side didn't have as much as the other. Now we get to let that dry, and then we can put a cover on it. Doesn't look bad. I have more of the cover for that magazine, as well as stickers, doll packaging, all that I'm going to use for covers. I'm even going to use some scrap paper from the Dollar Tree and paint samples. I can't wait to show you how it all ends up. To go along with the books, I made a couple of bookmarks. These are just from extra scraps left over from creating the book covers. We have an ocean, plant, a quilt or rug themed, and some trees. I also made them double-sided. Now we have bookmarks to mark our place. And here we have all of our finished books. It took me a little bit longer than I had thought it would. I have to admit, the easiest ones were the foam board, but some of the nicest ones were the magazines and the legal pad. I added details and covers to all these. I used scrap packaging that was left over from things. I used the scrapbooking paper pieces from the Dollar Tree. This is a paint sample, and I wasn't as careful as I had hoped. So it ended up being cracked a little bit, but I think that will make it look like it's an older book. I did do another one, and it turned out better. So I guess it depends on your paint sample and what kind of pressure you put on them. I added details with stickers. That turned out really nice. There's another sticker, and another, and another. I really like that one. I picked some pictures out of ads. This looks like a good cookbook for cookies. This came out of a magazine. I love Yellowstone, so I thought that would be a good idea. I even added extra paper details to make it look cool. Kitten even helped by threading some of the cardboard for me. Thank you, Kitten. Here's the one that had the putty in it. Turned out pretty good after the fact. It's very solid and heavy though. And here's one of the foam board pieces with the thread on it. I really like this one. Doing the thread definitely takes longer, but it's well worth it. And here is the one with the staples. I may end up gluing the middle shut, just so it stays closed better. I even toyed with using duct tape around the cardboard. I'm not sure if I like it or not, but it looks better than the cardboard edges. I really liked using the glossy paper from the magazines as book covers. It it worked wonderful. There we have it, a total of 128 books. If this video was helpful, please like and subscribe. Until next time, toodaloo!